Hi, my name is Kevin Retcher. I'm the owner of First Meridian Mortgage, and today I had the opportunity to be on a seminar from the Bright MLS on going over some of the updates on the fields for the upcoming changes pertaining to seller concessions and the fields associated with them. So the good news and the bad news is I did record it, ran into some technical difficulties for about the first 3 or 4 minutes. I didn't have sound on. So I'm going to go through, play some of that, and then when the actual presenter gets on, I will bow out and of the seminar. Here you can see you had the old fields. It had the option of concessions, yes or no. It had concessions amount and who the concessions were paid to. Available in June, first and foremost, is going to be a yes or no question. Are concessions available? And that will be able to be shown on the listings. So that would indicate yes, the seller is willing to potentially pay concessions for, I would assume, buyer's agent compensation, or no. Even if you put no, that doesn't mean that they can't offer, but it's going to indicate that if you were bringing a buyer, the buyer's agent's going to have to contact the listing agent and then see whether or not anything's being offered or not. They are going to give you the option of a dollar amount or a percentage in that box, okay? So one of the problems that I would, as a lender, would kind of see there is if you put a dollar amount in there, I don't know necessarily what you're going to perceive that money to be toward. Is it going to be toward a buyer's agent fee, or is that going to be toward actual seller concessions? Okay. Try to go into that and open up. So here's that box: yes or no, dollar amount or percentage is what's going to be available. And then underneath that, the next box is the 4 new fields: the amount paid to the seller for any home improvements, and the amount paid to the seller toward any finance-related cost. Someone on the seminar did ask why 2 fields that were similar, and she indicated that one was home repairs and one was toward loan cost individually. Then you have the amount paid by seller for buyer's broker cost, and the amount paid to the seller toward closing cost. All that's going to get tallied up into this bottom line. So all these 4 fields above it is going to give one total line item once the loan is settled and closed. They're talking about making it mandatory to put in, but right now this is optional to put in once the house has closed and is settled. One of the key points that a appraiser made while he was on the seminar is that if you don't fill this out, it's going to make it a lot harder for comparables, and you may end up just hurting yourself in the long run when it comes to the appraisers being able to actually figure out that information, okay?
Switch screens a little bit. So here we are in our listing here. We can see we have under our listing agreement, we have a new concessions offered. So I can click on that and I can say right here at the top, seller concession, yes or no. Again, this is optional. I can leave it blank. Nothing is required. It's not defaulted to either. If I click yes, then I can indicate an amount if I choose that the seller offers to pay towards buyer closing costs and fees that may include amounts paid to the buyer's broker or other service providers. I can do that either by a dollar amount or by a percentage. If I select a dollar amount, I then can go in and put that information in that field. All of this is optional. We can change our status over to closed and take a look at what that looks like. When you close it out, you'll then see Concessions Final becomes available. If I click on Concessions Final, here's our 4 fields that are new. The amount paid by the seller for home repairs or improvements. A lot of people asked in the last class why we need to know about that, or why would it be considered a concession. This happens on occasion if you have maybe a home inspection and the seller doesn't wish to make the repair, they wish to offer money instead. Then we have the amount paid by seller towards financing, amount paid by seller towards buyer broker costs, and any other amount. It will tally that number for you at the bottom, giving you the total amount paid by the seller towards closing costs. Let's take a break and see if we have any questions. Christine, final concessions are optional at this time. We do obviously encourage you, if you have them, please put them in. It helps with those comps and things later. Why 2 fields for closing costs? Should the last question be total amount paid at closing? Well, we just have finance related and then any other amounts that goes towards any kind of closing costs that may not necessarily be finance related. Grayed out at the bottom is the total amount paid by seller towards closing costs for any other thing that's not included in the above 3 fields. Are there any other questions in regards to the concessions fields before we move into the MLS disclosure form? Thank you for your feedback, Deborah. We have an anonymous question that was not answered apparently. Do I need to select yes on concessions? So you can, if your seller has agreed to negotiate those fees, then yes, you would select yes if concessions are being offered. We make no mention of compensation whatsoever within the MLS any longer. All right, let's move into the new form that we have. This form will be used for buyers and sellers, okay? It is an MLS disclosure and residential seller and landlord options, but it is also used for buyers as well. At the top, we have your broker or agent name, client name, date, and then we're working to have checkboxes added here, so this will be easier for those electronic signature programs, whether it's a seller check or buyer check, and the address. For a buyer, they are only going to have the top portion filled out and read this top half of the form. This explains how Bright works, as well as what they need to know about broker fees. Once they have read this, they will acknowledge by initialing the form in here. Everybody can see this right in the middle of the page there. Now for a seller client, same thing at the top. We'll select that it's a seller. They too need to read and acknowledge the top portion by initialing. And then we get into the bottom portion, which is only applies to a seller or a landlord. Very first thing, number 1, when will your broker allow potential buyers or renters to learn about the property? this is going to be considered your MLS entry date. So now it is up to, you and your seller to decide when it's appropriate for this to be entered into the MLS. That is the date you will put at the top. And then once you have done that, you will indicate how your broker will use Bright for this listing. And you'll have 4 options as we've broken them down. I'm going to jump back to the PowerPoint because I have these broken down so that we can take a closer look at them and it'll be bigger for you guys to be able to view. Let's get to that portion. Right here. All right, so how to enter in Bright. Our first option, 2A, is active with internet, yes. So this is considered an active listing. They will use Bright to share their home's information with the open market with the internet settings set to yes. 2B, active with internet set to no. They will use Bright to share their home's information with real estate professionals in Bright MLS only and not publicly market the home on the internet. Internet settings will be set to no. Option C, this option will be selected if entering the listing within 2 days of the MLS entry date into a coming soon status, allowing you to market the property while preparing it for showings. Once the property is ready for showings, tours, or open houses, you can then move to an active status. The date added here should be the date that you plan to change the status to active, which is considered to be your expected on the market date. Much like it is currently in Bright, when you enter coming soon, you select an expected on market date. Please note, Bright will automatically change it effective on that date. So if your seller changes their mind, something comes up, you'll be responsible for bumping that out a little farther. Your seller will indicate their internet preferences here as well by marking it yes or no. And the last option we have, if your seller has decided not to make their property available within MLS and restrict marketing, they can select this option and the listing can be entered as an office exclusive. If this option is selected, you will also need to complete the office exclusive form. This form can be found in the listings menu. Where can you locate the new MLS disclosure form? You can access the MLS disclosure PDF form at brightmls.com under the Policies tab and by clicking on our rules. You can also go to brightmls.com/rules. Which I'm putting in the chat, as well as brightmls.com/NAR settlement as well. I'm going to back up here for a moment. We'll take a brief break, see if we have any questions that we need to address, and I'm going to back up here just a bit and cover a couple of things. So this shows you in a search where those concession fields will be located. Concession information, if entered, will be visible within the listing. These examples show a residential listing, but these will be available in all property types. The concessions offered will display in the listing details section of the listing. Keep in mind, if nothing is input by the listing agent, nothing will display. Were the concessions final, you will see any detail provided by the listing agent at close within the sale or lease contract data. Depending on the display you choose, there may be limited space to show all the concession information, so you may see a link as demonstrated here. This will open a separate tab where you'll be able to view that detailed information. In addition, once the listing closes, the total concessions will be available to add to a one-line display if you need it. The column is called Concessions Final. To see more details on the breakdown of the concessions, you can access the listing as shown previously. Please note, concessions offered is not a column that can be added, nor is it searchable. You will need to access the listing directly to view this information. I am going to launch a poll at this time, and I will jump on some of these questions for you guys while you guys are doing the poll. This will help us get some feedback from you guys, which we consider to be very valuable, and we're very appreciative so that we can continue to make our product better for you. Deborah has a question. Confirming office exclusives cannot use central lock, combo boxes only. To my knowledge, Deborah, that is not an issue. If you have central lock, it's completely fine to use a central lock box on your office exclusive. What is the time frame for coming soon or exclusive? Any time frame? Yes, Chris. Yes, we've removed that 21-day constraint for coming soon, and there is no time frame for an office exclusive, never has been. That's all that's in the chat. I'll take a peek at the Q&A.
Yeah, no, Kim, once we're totally closed, we can move it up.
Yes, Kurt, we are also working on that. So Kurt had a great question. In section 2C of the form, will the internet yes, no be fixed to work in electronic systems? Yes, we've asked for that as well. Thank you.
I get done with the seminar and get paperwork, so I'm out of the office.
Maureen, beginning in August, coming soon can be more than 21 days.
Yeah,
That time constraint will be removed.
Okay, but moving it up, once we're clear to close, then we can move it up.
All right, it looks like 67% of you have participated in the poll, so I will go ahead and close this out. It doesn't look like we're getting anything else. I'll share that information with you as well. Deborah has a question. Clarification. Central lock is only for MLS linked listings. Office exclusives are not. So are combos required for office exclusives? Is this a central lock question? Again, Deborah, we can clarify that for you. I'm happy to do that. So central lock can be assigned to a listing in the MLS, but to my knowledge, it's not required. But again, let me clarify that and we will follow up with you. You're quite welcome.
I see a lot of people going to go to personal listings.
All right, we did go into the MLS disclosure form. It is available now to add to your listing presentation paperwork. Again, the question comes up, does it need to be sent into Bright? No, it doesn't. Just keep it with your paperwork. It is optional now, but it will be required in August in our next release, which is August 14th. You can discuss the various options with your seller related to their marketing and follow the seller's request to determine the listing entry process. More changes coming in August 2024, as mentioned. To learn more about what's coming in August, visit brightmls.com/NAR settlement for information on upcoming changes. We have a page dedicated to these changes, and you can stay up to date with the latest information. Our training team will also be offering several options for education through your office, association, and personalized coaching sessions through office hours, which I will show in the next slide and pop that in the chat as well. And then we will take more questions. Timothy, not sure why this field is optional. As an appraiser, this info is vital. we will have to call or email each and every agent if this info is not showing on the listing. Timothy, a lot of our team has recommended that we do make this and this field at close required if there are concessions. So we will be considering that and keeping you posted on that as well. Thank you for your comment and thank you for your feedback. Again, Christine, same thing as I just mentioned. We believe, based upon the feedback, that we will move this into a required field. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you. Just wondering if you knew if CentralLock does have such rules. I don't, but I don't work for CentralLock. I am an agent. I haven't come across it. I'm happy to find out and keep you guys posted, though. Stuart, the agent compensation, is that considered seller concession? It can be many things. It depends on what the buyer intends to use it for. At the end of the day, if it's a concession towards the buyer, it is ultimately up to that buyer how they wish to use it. If they would like to use it towards their buyer broker fees, then they're welcome to do that.
The problem is they're going to put a number in there, and then
Maureen,
everyone's
if they
going to
don't
think
want
it
it in
goes toward
then
the
they need the new MLS
agent
disclosure, the
and
waiver,
versus
the
closing
office
costs.
exclusive. So it's two things. It's the MLS disclosure, and that waiver of broker cooperation is the office exclusive form. So it's two forms. The office exclusive form that we currently have is still to be used. We may update it, but it is still the same form found under the listings tab. The disclosure is an additional form that will be required as well. Will you be making any changes to the seller net sheet? I am happy to find that out for you. I am not aware of anything at the moment. As far as financing, will the limits for the amount of concessions be adjusted up? Ken, we've had this discussion, and to my knowledge, I think we're aware of those limits. I think there's some wiggle room when the amounts are going towards the buyer broker fees. They're not wrapped in and included in that limitation, okay? But we can follow up on that and get some clarity. But that's what I was told yesterday, that if the concessions is used towards those, it does not go into the loan portion. One more screen I want to share with you guys, and that is our accuracy and policy team. Obviously, your coaches like myself are here for you to answer any questions and help you if we can. And if you need to, or you have specific other questions, you can feel free to reach out to our accuracy and policy team at brightmls.com/accuracy. They're available 8:30 to Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5. You can call, email, or chat with them. Thank you guys for joining me today. I will stick around for a few minutes. If you have any questions, I've got about 5 minutes left on the clock. And thank you, Kimberly, for assisting me today with the Q&A. You're glad to help. We are not recording this session. Sorry. Lakeisha, hi, how are you? I think you were in some classes yesterday. What were the 3 forms that you stated that were needed in addition to the MLS disclosure for private collection form? So there's now 3 forms. We will always use the MLS disclosure form, which is the new form that's available now and will be required in August. It's optional right now. If you have an office exclusive, you will also need to have that form as well. And bear with me, I will share that with you where you can locate that. Under the listings tab, you can see that office exclusive form right here. Okay. So this is only needed if your seller instructs you not to put it in the MLS. Okay. Scroll down and you can find the form right here. I hope that makes that a little more clear for you. We've got a few more questions and we will wrap it up. Would your suggestion be to just check yes without a number? Kevin, I think we've had discussions and I feel like that's probably what the majority of people will want to do. If there is a specific, number, again, because it's all negotiable, it's a starting point. You could put in 10,000, it could end up not being 10,000, right? So, but if you want to just throw it out there that yes, my seller is willing to negotiate with you guys, then, you can just check the yes box. You're welcome. Thank you guys for joining me today. You're welcome, Lakeisha. Thank you. Although concession field is not required, it's a great idea. I agree. Thank you for your feedback. As a lender, it may get confusing at what the concession is. Understand that. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you. All right, guys, I think, here comes one more. Okay, thank you, Andre, thank you. Maureen, so the limited marketing office exclusive form, we don't use, just the original waiver that you just put on the screen, is that correct? So, Maureen, let me just clarify that we will have the disclosure form that I shared in the beginning. And then if it's an office exclusive, only if it's office exclusive, you will have that form as well that I just had on the screen. This is the office exclusive. This is the disclosure form. Okay? This goes with every buyer or seller, period, across the board, everyone. There is a section at the bottom that they will fill out if it's restricted marketing, right? But it does also tell you if this is the case, then your seller must sign, write separate limited marketing office exclusive form, because this limits people's access to the information. So this one is required for every buyer or seller. This one is only in that limited marketing office exclusive.
Have a good trip.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then just send me that contract and stuff. And I'll
I can send you the contract now, but
All right, guys, again, keep an eye out. We have pop-ups all the time when new things are coming. Stay in tune with your email. Keep a check on everything for upcoming news and information, as well as training opportunities. Thank you so much for joining me today, and have a great week.
So my quick recap on this is I feel that at least these changes allow some clarity when it comes to the homes that have sold. So if we can get this information in to the system, the appraisers will actually be able to compare an apple to an apple, a house that had concessions and a house that didn't. The other key thing is I think that if you put in yes, that the seller is willing to pay a buyer's broker fee and leave it blank, then I feel that that's probably the best scenario, and the contracts can all come in accordingly with the buyer's agent asking for XYZ dollar amount, and there can be clarity there. On a VA loan, keep in mind any buyer or broker agreements between a veteran and a buyer's agent are going to have to be part of the contract. One of the stipulations in the VA guidelines to allow that was whether or not the Bright MLS systems would have clarity available for a veteran to be able to determine whether or not he was needing to pay or not. So if a house actually had yes checked, most likely the buyer's broker agreement would not go into effect. The VA rules would probably dictate that you would have to go by whatever was offered in the MOS, especially if it was notated a percentage. That remains to be seen. I'm kind of guessing at that one, just with the new circular having just came out, allowing for a veteran to pay a buyer's agent fee. But there was some clarifications in there on whether or not it was known to the prior to the contract what that compensation would be for the buyer's agent. So I think that there may be some changes or modifications done via the VA based upon how this is done, but that's just a quick interpretation, and we can go from there. My name is Kevin Retcher, owner of First Meridian Mortgage. I would highly advise jumping on one of the Bright MLS seminars. It's about 30 minutes, but you can catch most of the details here. And if you've done a number of listings, you can kind of see and feel what the changes are going into effect, how they're going to affect the process. But at least we got a little clarity here in June, and we can kind of get used to it. So if you have any questions, give me a call. They do have some coaching also available so that you can understand what these changes are. So contact Bright for that information. Again, Kevin Retcher, First Meridian Mortgage. Talk to you soon.